Hello and welcome to another edition of Circle Time, the Early Years podcast. I'm Glenn Denny. Now, I'm delighted to be joined by Jordan Stewart from Peep. Now, Jordan, welcome along.
Hi, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely more than welcome. Now, first of all, let's explain what is Peep.
So Peep, essentially, the charity is called People, and it was started back in 1995 in Oxford. And essentially it was started in response to literacy needs for children that were entering secondary school. So some educational professionals could see that actually the best start in life was that if children were reaching these milestones way before they started school, and like that was working with their parents so long before they even came to secondary school. So with that, the charity had then started a Learn Together program, which I will tell you about. So our Learn Together program, like I said, it was developed an approach to changing children's outcomes. But like that, it was quite different at the time because it wasn't working directly with children. The Learn Together program was working with adults. So like that, it was supporting parents to see what they could do with their children in a home setting.
Yeah.
Like that long before school even starts. So mostly our sort of remit would kind of be, well, we have an antenatal program as well, but it's probably about 0 to 5. Most people that use the Learn Together program, but like that, it can be adapted to older children as well. But like that, it was quite different at the time because it was working with parents, like I said, and not as direct with children. But like that, it did have a value on building that children's ability to learn through play. And like that, most importantly, the everyday experiences. So that's really what we preach a lot in the charity, and in particular the Learn Together program, is to encourage parents to use what they already have at home, you know, without having to go out and buy anything fancy or over the top or take them somewhere really expensive. You know, we want parents to use as little money as possible and just make the most of those everyday experiences within the home. So that's essentially kind of how the charity actually started. But like that, it's developed a lot over the years. We have our Learn Together program, which is our biggest program. But we also have an antenatal program as well. And we are in the middle, we have an early communication matters program, but that's actually currently been updated and rewritten at the moment, obviously in the response to the pandemic and what we're seeing now with especially children before school, that there is a huge gap with their speech right now. There's quite big delays, and as you can imagine, there's huge strain on the services. So speech and language therapy is it's a long time with the NHS to try and get into speech and language. So we are currently rewriting that program now to support practitioners and support parents, you know, like that, while children are on the waiting list.
That's the thing, isn't it? That there is such a backlog for this, and like we all know, it's been in the news so often that the NHS is under so much pressure that I suppose it's charities like Peep that train practitioners can actually help to alleviate that pressure.
Absolutely. So, you know, we talk in Scotland about closing the attainment gap. It's like at the forefront of everyone's agenda, but like that, we had such a setback over the last few years. So like that, Peep has it's just been amazing. I actually, before I worked for Peep, I was actually out there delivering it. So I was delivering it as a practitioner during the pandemic. And like that at the time was the only way to build relationships with parents was through Peep. And like that, one of the benefits of our program is that it can be adapted and delivered in different ways. So I've delivered Peep one-to-one in the home. I've done it online, obviously during COVID. We have done it outside. We have changed this program so many different ways. It is so flexible, that like that, when a practitioner comes to train with us, then they can sort of twist and tweak it to how it's going to suit their establishments best, because like that, every need is going to be different within the centre. But like I said, our Learn Together program is probably our most popular at the moment, I would say now, and probably because it's got a very strong evidence base behind it. So we have one study, which was our Learning Together study. And that was done in Queen's University Belfast, and it was done over a period of 20 weeks, with about just under 1,500 families, that essentially all attended PEEP groups. And what they did was they obviously measured different outcomes, but what they did find was, I'm just going to double check to make sure I have my figures, that it did make a positive difference on additional 2 months progress over that 20 week period of time, and that was mostly in children's literacy development, but most importantly for parent self-acceptance and the knowledge of the home learning environment, and their confidence in playing with their children was one of the biggest outcomes that we found. We also had another study as well, which is the Birth to School study, and this was carried out down at Oxford University, and what they did was essentially they had half the participants attended PEEP, and the other half did not. They're obviously the control group, and like that they found obviously that the parents and the children that attended the PEEP sessions had better outcomes than the ones who did not. So like that, when we are talking about closing the attainment gap, I really feel that, you know, having PEEP within your centre or in your school is just like the perfect program to be able to do that. I've always felt, I've worked a long time in nurseries, like 12 years working as a practitioner, that, you know, really to close the attainment gap and to give children the best start in life, we need professionals and parents working together, like completely in harmony. And that's essentially what the program is really doing. And like I said, it's very adaptable to how practitioners need to use it. I'm down in South Lanarkshire and actually have a lovely colleague that works in a nursery down here. It's her nursery is half mainstream, half ASN. So like that, they adapt the program very differently in that establishment. But they're quite rural, so they do one-to-one PEEP in the home. And she had recently talked to me about that one of her parents, her child was in hospital. So like that, she was going out to that parent in the home, and she was giving her ideas about what she can do with her son when he's on the ward, and different ideas about really how to make the best of that situation, and that she could continue on her peak practice with her son in the hospital. And like that, I said, it was really building up that parent's confidence and building up the relationships they had as well. Which like that is really the essence of it, is just giving parents confidence and reminding them they are doing a fantastic job, and they are the expert in their own child.
I think you're right as well. I mean, there is a lot of, I mean, I've worked in various settings myself over 26 years, and the best partnerships you have are with the parents, but it's also getting the parents to understand actually they are educators as well. You know, yes, we're the professionals within a nursery setting, but actually at home, they are the educators of their child, and actually giving them the tools as well is so empowering.
Absolutely, and that's essentially what we do in our Learn Together program sessions. You know, there might be kind of a different focus depending on the nursery. It might be, you know, numeracy, it might be literacy, it might be social emotional development, like that. It really depends. We're seeing a lot this time of year, people doing transitions through PEEP for the little ones getting ready to go to school in August, and it's really amazing, like creating routines and getting ready for school. So a lot of my practitioners would be using that at the moment within their PEEP sessions. But like that, it's a very relaxed atmosphere. It's very casual. We like parents to kind of feel very welcome, and you know, we always try never to use any sort of jargon, and like that, just constantly instilling confidence within parents. You are the expert in your own child. You can do this in the home, and like that, without having to buy anything fancy or do anything fancy, that you can do all these things. You can, and you know, give them the best start. I was actually just out with my son today, kind of recording some things for our social media, and like that, we were just digging in the garden. He was just planting, and you know, I was doing things like what do you think if this will happen, and that. So there's a lot of modeling like that in the sessions as well. Just, you know, being with children, the types of questions we can ask. And like that, how we can adapt it in the home. So like that, we all, after a PEEP session, we will always give parents not so much homework, but we call them our tadas, which is things to do at home. And like that, it'll be something so simple, something they will already have to be able to prompt conversation with their children, and make a quality learning experience for them, whether it be cooking with them, bath time, or just out doing the shopping with them. It is really that simple. But like that, it's very much building the parents' confidence.
Definitely. It's interesting. You were talking about like the kind of casual routines. And I think, again, as an early years professional, I think we understand the importance of these routines. Do you find, like, from going back to when your days as a practitioner and delivering the Peep sessions, did you find parents who are like that light bulb moment is like, but it's just my routine, like we have to do bath time, we have to get, and they all of a sudden go, that's a learning opportunity?
All the time, and it's really quite amazing. So when during a Peep session, we'll talk about, we always have songs, we always have stories, but I'll try and pick out a song that will, a numeracy song if we've got a numeracy focus. And we'll talk about head, shoulders, knees and toes, and we'll be like, well, what do you think the learning opportunities are there? And parents are always like, what? And it's like all of this stuff comes out when we have a chat and we think about that, it's recognition, it's learning to wait, it's learning body parts, it's language, it's listening, it's everything, in that one song. And slowly as the weeks go by, parents are just like, oh my goodness, like learning is really everywhere. And like even what you can do at just bath time about sitting down with your children, and even like, oh, we're going to take our clothes off, we're going to put them in the hamper, like that, creating a routine. And like that, the penny just drops. They're like, I am doing this already. Yeah. I am the main teacher here. And it's really nice to see.
Again, it's using that word, it's empowering for parents, isn't it? There is so many pressures on parents from external sources that actually you turn around and say, well, do you know what? You sang that song. Great. Well, here's what they learned from it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, and we always try and accommodate for, where our parents feel comfortable to begin with. So like that, for me, parents never feel comfortable singing at the start of sessions, but after a few weeks they do tend to join in a little bit. And some of them are not confident with storytelling either, so we talk about different ways for communication, or making up your own stories, or doing things through puppets. So like that, just starting with the basis of where that parent is already comfortable and kind of building on what they already have, and like you said yourself, empowering them, instilling that confidence that they have this already, they have the tools to give their children the best start. And we are not the professionals in some areas, but with their children, they are the expert.
Absolutely, they know them best. So if we pare it back a little bit, so going back to sort of like, how do you become a Peep practitioner?
So essentially, most our Peep practitioners, they work in nurseries. However, it's not specific to work in a nursery. Anyone can become a Peep practitioner. So we do, the course is essentially 2 days, so it can be online or face-to-face. It's 2 days of full training. It can be quite intense, but it's a really, really enjoyable course, whether it's online or face-to-face. So essentially you would come and you would do 2 days of training with us, and then that is it. You are a qualified Peep practitioner. And then depending on where you are, so most of our local authorities will have a Peep champion within that local authority. So in Inverness, you would have a Peep champion, and then they would kind of have their own internal network of Peep practitioners that will kind of support each other through different establishments about good practice and how you can collate data and different things like that. But like that, you do not have to work in a nursery or in a school or anything like that. It's very popular in like libraries and stuff like that as well. So anyone can essentially come. You don't need to have a big background in child development. So that's all already on the course as well. But like I said, it's really popular with nurseries because I think building rapport with parents is on everyone's improvement plan right now. So we are popular in the nurseries right now.
It really is. It's like, yeah, you were talking there at the start about the pandemic, and a lot of like opportunities for children to socialize and build those language skills that they would normally, like mother and toddler groups and baby and toddler groups and library sessions. So like in Scotland, we have like book bug sessions, and a lot of that moved online. So there was a lot of the social aspect of that got taken away, wasn't it? And that's had a huge impact.
I have seen such an impact. So my oldest son Max is 4, so he was prime sort of pandemic toddler when it all kicked off. So he actually had never been to Book Bug. Well, not one that he would have remembered anyway when he was very tiny. But that toddler phase of socialization, he missed all of that. And then he was fired into nursery when he was 3, and at the time it was still quite funny. Omicron was rearing its ugly head, so things still weren't right. And I noticed a huge impact on his language, that there was a delay for definite. He was an only child at the time, so just really known to socialize with, but particularly his peers. And then I went back and I was working as a equity and excellence lead in St. Lanarkshire Council. We have different titles all over Scotland, so it's probably something different in Inverness. But like that, I was going in and I was like, wow, I was like, I'm seeing a huge impact with the little pandemic toddlers that were coming in particular with their speech and language. And as I was saying earlier, I was like, the services are stretched. They are absolutely stretched. There's just, and you can't wait. And you're sitting there as a parent, and you're like, what can I do in the meantime? While we're waiting on a speech and language therapist, what can we do for our child to improve that? So like that, Peep is really fantastic resource. If you can attend a Peep group, and like that, you can speak to your Peep practitioner and say, I'm really concerned about their language, or I'm really concerned about their behavior, or their transition to school. And we are very responsive to parents, so whatever that need is that parents are coming to us with, we will tailor our sessions to make sure it's meeting that need, whatever that may be. But yeah, as you said, language has been a huge one this year, absolutely huge.
It certainly has. There's the other bit as well that I think, and it certainly helped the Peep program as well, is that because of the pandemic, so maybe one of the slight positives from it was it adapted everything. Because I remember many years ago looking at Peep and thinking, I'd really like to do that. But for me, where I was up here in the Highlands, it was so difficult to get to training. But now everything kind of switched to being delivered online. So that's been a positive. But do you think has it changed the way that training, not so much is delivered, obviously is being delivered differently online, but do you think it has it lost anything, or has it gained something from being delivered online?
I think I've gained 100%. So most of my training, because I've got 2 young children, I very rarely do face-to-face. I mostly deliver online training. But I have found that when I'm doing online, it can be people from here, there, and everywhere, as opposed to, just training in Inverness. And when you have people from here, there, and everywhere, and they could be from Ireland or Australia or England, you get this like amazing view of, not just in Scotland, but like what is happening in other parts of the world and how people are approaching different things in their own areas. And there's like a wider kind of networking aspect when we do it online, which I really, really like, because you hear different things. And, I know what's going on in Scotland, and I'm very confident what's going on in Scotland. But like that, my colleagues down in England who are so close, but, things down there are so, so different. Like legislation, policy, even what they call their curriculum is so different. So I just love when they're online with me and I can try and learn a little bit more from them as well. But what's really nice is that with the Learn Together program, it doesn't mirror any sort of curriculum. Like, it's not curriculum for excellence. It's not building the ambit. But it does echo it almost. It echoes all of them. Like that learning through play, valuing the parents, and like that we have, like I said, we have it in the Republic of Ireland, England, and Australia as well. So like that, all using the same program and adapting it. So it's not kind of curriculum specific, but when you kind of do the training and read the principles, you're like, oh, this does echo everything that's happening in Scotland, but it also is echoing England and Australia as well, which is nice.
That's really good. That it's adaptable and moldable, really, to what you're trying to put across and what you're trying to help your children learn as well.
Yeah, I mean, everything that we're doing in Scotland right now, it really, it just complements it so nicely. And like that, we're in every local authority. We just seem to be getting stronger and stronger. And there's talk of us going to South Africa as well, which is nice. The program, we've just trained someone from South Africa, so it's really, really nice that that's going to happen.
Becoming a bit of a global phenomenon.
A bit of world domination.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though, as well. Okay, like I said, there's probably one of the very few positive points of the pandemic is because it kind of pushed all this sort of training onto Zoom and other platforms. That actually it does open up so many opportunities, but then you're getting a global perspective, which I suppose can then influence how not just how you deliver it, but also the content as well.
I know it's really exciting, and like I said, how different practitioners they're coming to our training and then they're going away and they're thinking about it and they're doing some really amazing stuff. So we've got Peep on the beach, we've got Forest School Peep. Like I said, we've got one-to-one delivering in the home. And one of my colleagues up in Aberdeen, who is a Peep champion up there, she's just started doing intergenerational Peep. And it's at the start, and we're going to get her to do some research, or sorry, put up a blog for us. She nearly had me in tears when she was talking about what she was doing. She's essentially doing adapting her Peep sessions in one of the nursing homes close to the nursery. And it was just unbelievable what she's coming out with. The children are just, they're so happy. The parents are just like, oh my God, the learning that they can see before their eyes. It's just absolutely amazing. So she's going to do a little bit of research on how that goes. I think she only started it maybe about a month ago. So we're going to see some really exciting stuff coming from Aberdeen with how she's delivering, but really, really exciting. And like that, just so adaptable. Everyone's doing it slightly different, but like that, the essence of it, of empowering parents, learning through play and everyday experiences. So it's exciting.
It really is. It's like it as well. It's like when you were talking about that practitioner from Aberdeen. It's like it's amazing that she's seen the potential within the Peep program to actually go, do you know what? I think this is going to work like across the generations as well. That just shows how like adaptable and flexible and moldable it is.
It really is. I must ask her how she kind of found that little niche, but we always do try and say that, you know, the program is open to everybody. We tend to get, well, I always did when I was delivering it, was like mums coming in. And in fact, any program that I've delivered with a nursery always tends to be kind of mums that come, but we want, you know, dads to come, we want grandparents to come, we want it to be open to everybody. And like to have that lovely welcome environment so that different age groups can kind of share their ideas of what it was like growing up and learning through play and different things like that. So like I said, that's something that we really are working on, is definitely making it more adaptable for maybe dads. I know we've talked about bringing it into prisons as well. And we're hopefully going to be working with the NHS as well for infant mental health, which would be really nice.
Amazing.
So yeah, we're busy bees, Glenn. We're trying to be
certainly are. I know when I mean, to be fair, we were trying to kind of pin this down for so long to like for you guys to come onto the podcast, and it took so long. But it's because you are so busy. You're constantly delivering something or working on something or building a new project, and it's exciting.
It really is. Like, we just keep seeing opportunities for where we need to be. So my colleague Laura, who you've spoken to, you know, she's really passionate about getting that into prisons and into women's prisons and like that, building up that relationship there. I have such a soft spot for the infant mental health and the NHS. I just see us there, and that's, you know, that's my goal. I can just see it, and that's where I want to be. So try to make contacts there. But that's the thing. We are such a small team in Scotland. There's really only 3 of us here. But we are so passionate. We're all parents as well, and we all just see the value in it. And like that, we've all had different experiences. I've worked in a nursery, my job share. She was a primary teacher. Laura worked in the college with teaching early years. But like that, we all have this nice experience we can bring together, and like that, try to get that world domination with Peep.
Can you give us an example of some of the activities that a practitioner will put across in a Peep session? Like, what kind of things would happen? I know we talked about like you singing a song and trying to encourage the parents, which I know I've tried doing that before with some parents. There is a certain reluctance in it, but you know.
It can be a struggle sometimes, and I always find more so you know, if there's a lot of dads there as well, it can be a bit of a struggle. But like that, there's never any pressure to sing. I will say that the practitioner will always be singing, but like that, there's never any pressure. But essentially what would happen in a Peep session is it's very, very relaxed. Everyone kind of comes in, gets a cup of tea. It's mostly, you know, on the floor with the children. There might be an experience set up. So, you know, I might have a water tray out, and essentially, you know, the children might be off playing while I'm kind of speaking to the parents. We'll always have a hello song to greet everybody. And then essentially what we do is we have a talk time. So I might be talking about numeracy and how we can do that through water play and do it in the bath. And like that, the children might be over with another practitioner and they'll be playing different things in the water tray. And essentially what that practitioner would be doing is kind of modeling so to the parents as to, you know, what you can be asking or what you can be doing, you know, talking about maybe float or sink. And then like that, the children will come back, we'll do some songs, we'll do some stories, and then we'll talk about what they're going to do at home. So whatever experience, if I've maybe done the water tray and talk about float and sink, I will then give them something to do at home that they can either do in the kitchen sink or the bath, that they can adapt it. But it will never be an experience that involves them going out and buying anything. But it could be something as simple as, you know, what you're going to do this week is when you go out shopping with your child, you're going to, you know, count, or you're going to get them to weigh the fruits or something like that. It will never involve them, you know, going out to buy something fancy. But the talk time that we do within the Peep session is really kind of where you get the best conversations, and you as a practitioner taking in what are the parents' worries, what are their concerns, and, you know, what you can kind of self-evaluate and plan your sessions on, you know, where their kind of knowledge is or what they want to learn about. Like that, I always tend to let parents lead the way with what they kind of want to do. But it's very, very simple. And like that, songs and rhymes we know they're so important, but as you said, it can take a while for the group to warm up a little bit to doing it, but the practitioner will always be there singing. The children do tend to join in always, but like that, it's building confidence. Every session that I've run, I'm the only one singing in the first couple of weeks, a few more in the last, and by week 10 everyone's singing louder than me. So it's a show about building confidence.
Do you think as well, like when you start off on leading a session, do you think by the end of it you've actually built a really strong community as well of parents that kind of, maybe some didn't know each other, but actually by the end of it they're swapping numbers and kind of arranging play dates?
Absolutely, that's what I love the most about it. And sometimes like that, you're just like, okay, I need to get control of my session because they're too busy like chatting away to each other, but it's so fantastic to see. So I would always, you know, start my sessions when everyone came in and got a cup of tea and a biscuit or whatever, and like that, just kind of time to chat to each other about what was going on, and oh my god, the stress of trying to get to nursery today, and this, that, and the other, and what's going on in everyone's lives. And that's just so important. And you know, always we actually talk about it on the training about, you know, at the end of a session that you need that morning time, and you need to build the parents up to, you know, the session's going to finish, because it can be very devastating. Like you said, that community that was there is maybe gone. So it's really nice. We always do in our last session is a lot of reflection over what we've done over that period of time, what we've all learned. We always like to keep a little floor book as well of our achievements and what we've done. But actually the big study, the Learn Together study that I told you about at the start that happened in Belfast, because that was done with 1,500 families, you know, it was quite a lot, but they actually had to disband into tiny little peep groups all around Belfast because they just didn't want it to end. It was just they didn't want it. After 5 months, they're like, no, we can't give it up. So they had to like that build that community again in smaller little groups, because like that is just those relationships with parents and having each other as a support system is just so important. And I know that myself as a parent as well. It's just so nice to talk to someone with a child the same age. You're like, whoo.
Yeah, it's a bit about that. Sometimes parents can feel lonely, they can feel isolated, and actually you're helping them not only develop their child's language through easy learning that is done every day, but the parents don't necessarily realize it, but also you're developing the relationships with the parents that they're not on their own.
I think that's like the biggest thing, is that one, you're not on your own, but two, that you're just doing a great job. Because it's so important to be reminded of that. And like that as a practitioner, when you're leading it, you always encourage it. It's like, no matter what is happening, you are doing a great job. If you didn't get to do the things to do at home this week, it doesn't matter, you're still doing a great job. You came today and you're joining in. So that's really important that we like to instill, there's someone behind me, to parents that, whatever is going on, it's really important that we have each other, and like that the group becomes very, very close, as you would imagine, just having those other parents there that are going through the same thing. This time of year, everyone's talking about going to school, so all parents are having the same worries right now, and within the groups the same conversations will be happening about what routines they're going to put in, and it's just really, really nice for parents to kind of share their own and learn their kind of tips as well, for if they've done it before with an older child. But yeah, it's so, you'll find sometimes in the talk time that you're kind of just sharing it, but the parents are really leading it, which is nice.
That's really great. So the easiest way, I suppose, if you're wanting to sign up for training, is just go onto the Peep website.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say up here in Scotland, it's mostly local authorities that would reach out to us. So you might have like Inverness and they say we want to train 20 practitioners, and like that they would organize their own sort of training. But like that individuals can come on and do their own training as well. Like that everything you just book through the website, or you can get in touch with the admin team about a potential date if you've got big numbers. But like that, it is completely open to anyone. Anyone can come along and do the training. You don't even need to have any background, like I said before. But like that, I can pass on all our contact details to you as well. And we're on our socials, the usual Twitter and Instagram as well, if people want to find it more about the training.
That's amazing. Well, Jordan, I think we've just about run out of time, so thank you so much for coming to talk to us about Peep.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And unfortunately, that is all the time we've got for this season, our very first season of Circle Time, the Early Years podcast. I want to say a massive thanks to all my amazing guests that I've had over the last year. It's been brilliant, and I couldn't have done it without any of them. So thank you so much. If you'd like to be a guest for a future edition of the podcast, get in touch with me via the website. It's circletimepodcast.co.uk, and we'll be back in November with a brand new season, so do join me then. So thanks very much for listening. Bye bye now.